this is a true reflection of where do you stand in your industry and where do you stand in your industry market, right? Or the industry that you operate in. So market share is nothing but it is basically, it indicates percentage of industry's total sales, right? That is earned by your company. So if the industry is in total selling 100 units, and if you are able to sell only 15 units, it means that your market share is 15%. If you have noticed in the formula of market share, what is very important is market size. And this is where comes the biggest worry of every business leader or every business analyst. How do I know the market size of my business, right? So first of all, let's understand what is market size, right? And how do we measure it? So market size is basically, it is an indication, right? There is no 100% correct market size for your product and service. It's an estimate, right? That what is the true potential of your businesses. Now the question is basically, how do we basically measure it? We have devised this 3-step approach. So first is basically you define your current market, right? So very important step in measuring your market or estimating your market sizes. What is the industry that you operate in? Within your industry, which segment do you operate in? And within your segment, which sub-segment do you operate in? You can use a lot of government sources, right, where they classify your industry. You can do a simple Google search that for the industry that you belong to, right? So find that industry out. Within your industry, you see that, okay, within my industry, like we talk about healthcare. So healthcare has multiple segments within it, right? You have healthcare devices, you have healthcare delivery, right? So you have healthcare technology related products and services. So similarly, you have to look at your industry, within your industry, which segment you operate in, within your segment, right? Now, if we are talking about healthcare delivery as a segment within healthcare industry, within healthcare delivery, if you are talking about super specialty or say multi-speciality or a standalone clinic, so you have to look at which sub-segment do you belong to, right? And that will give you basically a funnel kind of an approach, right? Or a funnel kind of a picture that, okay, this is the broad industry, which is the total addressable market for me. Then within that, I'm talking about the segment serviceable available market to me. And the third is serviceable obtainable market for me, right? So you need to understand what is serviceable obtainable market for me and see how much of that you are basically you are catering to. Then comes the next part is the second column basically, which is quick data collection. So for most of the TAM or a total industry level, you can actually find a lot of government, lot of free resources which tells you that what is the industry size. You can also do quick research. You can find your serviceable market size, which is your segmental market size also, right? So that is something which is, again, you can do a research and get an idea of your industry. Second is, the best way is to demand side estimation. You have to estimate how many total number of buyers are there in the market for your product. What is their average purchase size or average ticket size that they buy from? Now, for example, if you are a B2B manufacturing or a heavy engineering company, and if you know that, okay, my component goes into say a rolling press, right? So if it gets into a rolling press, then you can actually see that how many buyers of rolling press are there in India, right? And how much machinery they buy every year, and then say that per machine, what is the consumption of my component, right? So this is like you are doing demand side aggregation and you are trying to estimate your market size. The third is basically supply side estimation. So you can look at the total number of players in your market, right, who is supplying the same product and services. You put their sales and sum it up, you get a supply side market. So you have now 3 different estimate supply side. Now then you can triangulate to arrive at your total addressable market, the market that you can address by slightly modifying your product or by entering into new geographies or new segment. Second is serviceable available market. by catering to the entire segment that you are in. What is that market? The third is basically what is my serviceable obtainable market. It is the total size of the sub segment that you operate in. Now, once you know your market share, right, there are two very important elements that you need to understand. First is basically when I know my market share, I need to talk about that whether my market share is good or bad, right, high or low. So if you know that my market share is low, and if I operate in a market which is a very matured market, the market itself is not growing, right, and in that market, if you are a low market share player, you should consider at diversifying into from that business and looking at new opportunity, because, and this is where exactly the example of telecom industry comes in, right? If the new players had a market share of 2%, 3%, 1%, and ultimately they got acquired by the larger players in the industry. But if your market share is low, but market itself is growing at very high pace, you can still consider investing into that business and invest into marketing, customer loyalty, and your employees. But if you have a very high market share, it's a no-brainer that you need to continue investing into that business, irrespective of the market that you operate in. Whether it's a mature market or a growth market, you continue investing into your business. In matured market, you invest in marketing and employees, and in a growth market, you invest in new product, customer loyalty, and employee.